Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn about something interesting. Well, to say interesting, we are going to learn a poetry of a different sort. We all are poets indeed. But when we read poets, their experiences, we come to know about different form of emotions, feelings, and what they go through during a certain period or a time or a phase. Today, I am going to deal with the poem The Darkling Thrush, written by Thomas Hardy. All of us know Hardy to be a great novelist in Victorian age, and he was very much influenced by Romanticism. We can also say he was much inspired by William Wordsworth. And Victorian age, as all of us know, was full of lot of changes which has taken place. Urbanization took place, industrialization took place, and because of that, lot of changes was observed in the social atmosphere in which Hardy was living, or the people at the time was living. Let's start with knowing about Thomas Hardy. He has written many novels: Tres de Urvalis, The Mayor of Casterbridge, and many more. But this particularly, The Darkling Thrush, is one of the best collections of his poem, and it was given the other name also by the century's Deathbed. This poem was written at the time when Victorian age was coming to an end, 19th century was coming to an end, and a new century was going to begin. People were very anxious, curious, overexcited to know about what is going to take place in future. But the poet here, in first person or in a subjective form, has expressed his feelings at the end of a century. So we will be seeing how much he is influenced by the nature and what are the feelings that are going in his mind by observing the nature in a much beautiful way. The words that he has used, the simile and the metaphor that he has used to make his poetry more interesting will be learned by us today. So let's begin the poem by knowing that particularly when you see the heading, The Darkling Thrush, and the substitute thing that in the beginning which he has written, by the century's deathbed, that is, century is coming to an end, and what he is observing in the nature. This poem begins, I leaned upon a coppice gate when frost was spectre grey, and winter's decrees made desolate the weakening eye of day. The tangled vine stems scored the sky like strings of broken lyres, and all mankind that haunted night had sought their household fire. When the poem begins, the atmosphere is dull and dreary. There is a feeling that it is a sad sort of atmosphere, and the poet says that he was leaning upon a coppice gate. Coppice gate over here means a wooden gate which opened in a forest. When frost was spectre grey, frost over here is referred to as the snow, the ice that is covered, and it looks dull and ghost-like. And the winter decrees made desolate, and the leftover snow, ice is shown and seen in the place, and which is making it desolate, lonely. There is no one. The weakening eye of the day, the sun is setting. It is the time of evening, and it is completely snow covered. It's in the winter. The tangled vine stems scored the high. All the climbers, and which is observed by the poet, is touching the sky like strings of broken lyre. Just you See the lines, like, it is a simile. We all know what it is, and so it is compared to the strings of a lyre, musical instrument, and all mankind that haunted nigh had sought their household fire. People over there, no? Here the poet is just alone, observing the things, just feeling happy about all the things. He's just feeling that he was leaning alone, desolate. The atmosphere is dreary and dark. There is isolation, desolation, and still people they are not worried about what the poet is experiencing. It is the evening time, the day is weakening. They have all gone back on this day, which is very cool. Okay, and they have just retired back to their house in warm and cozy atmosphere, and they are sitting near the household fire. They have burned the fire and they are enjoying the atmosphere at their home. Here, Hardy as a poet is experiencing that loneliness he's feeling from his heart. This is the first paragraph that we have seen, that how the ending of a year and the ending of a day has caused a sort of emotions, and there is a description of the cold day and how it is dying and the atmosphere around. In second stanza, it begins, the land's sharp features seem to be the century's corpse outlined. His crypt the cloudy canopy, the wind its death lament. The ancient pearls of germ and birth were shrunken hard and dry, and every spirit upon earth seemed fervorless as I. Again, in the second stanza, there is a continuation of decay and despondency. Okay, using a metaphor, the poet, is comparing the barren landscape. The mountains and the hills, all are seamless, lifeless. It's like a century's corpse outlet. Here you understand, century's corpse, again connected with the topic or the poem's lines, that it is like an end. Okay, a century which is coming to an end, and the poet is observing the sharp features. Okay, he's crept the cloudy canopy. The layers of the cloud have covered the century. It is like a corpse. It is compared to a dead body, and the cloud is covering that dead body. Here you will see that the poet has used a metaphor to compare the dying century with a corpse, with a dead body. The wind its death lament, and the wind that is blowing, just imagine the height of comparison or the beauty of the poet's description. He just says that the wind is crying mournful lament. It is crying, it is feeling the pain, and it's lamenting over the death or death of a dying century. The ancient pearls of germ and birth has shrunken hard and dry. Okay, you understand this, that the ancient pearls, ancient means historical or the back, germ of birth and decay has shrunken hard and dry. There is no hope of germination. It has just shrunk. It has gone deep down in the earth. And every spirit, every soul on this earth seemed without any passion, without any fervor, without any temperament. As I, the poet compares that even I am not having any passion, any fervor, any emotion left within me. There is complete lacking of that anxiety, the hopefulness which should be within me. The dying of the century is a sort of, the tone of the speaker expresses sadness actually. The poet over here expresses the lament. Okay, even the wind is crying lament for the death of the century. Here it is the time phase actually of a era marked by, again I'm repeating that, it is marked by urbanization and industrialization, which was the death of traditional values, conventions, which was very much in the time. Darwin's theory has also come up at this time, and people were very much conscious about their social bearing, and that resulted in such a sort of feelings, anxiety, loss of hope, pessimism in people. So the second stanza also ends at a note of sadness, and it is Hardy's feeling of dark tragedy which is taking place. Moving on to the third stanza. At once a voice arose among the bleak twigs overheard in a full-hearted eve song of joy illimited, an aged thrush, frail, gaunt and small, in blast bereft bloom, has chosen thus to fling his soul upon the growing gloom. Now we will try to understand it. It is different. The stanza is completely different from the first two stanzas. In this stanza, in the third stanza, there is a portrayal of a hope amid this dead and decaying surrounding. There is a change in the surrounding, and that will be expressed. Suddenly, an atmosphere of gloom, dejection, despondent will change into a voice that is being heard, and in this dark and bleak surrounding, there is a voice among the twigs. Understand this? There is a voice from the tree, the twigs. It can be heard, and it is a sound of an unlimited joy. A bird which is feeble. Understand this? Frail means weak. A bird that is weak and small. It's just its feathers are disorganized, disordered. In a blast ruffled fume means feather, and the bird, it is completely disorganized, disoriented in this dark, gloomy atmosphere, had chosen thus to fling its soul. It has just put all sorts of energy, all sorts of strength, and just started expressing the happiness in this gloomy atmosphere. There is a sort of, when you will observe this expression from the last two stanzas what we have studied, you'll feel that there is a hope. Although the bird, the thrush, is weak, frail, okay, in a disorganized way, still there is a way of hope that is in the bird's voice, expression. Okay, there is a cheerful expression, the heart expresses that, and there is a complete change in the atmosphere which was observed by Hardy in the previous two stanzas. And we will, this poem which till now talked about decay and despondency has changed into something expressed by the bird. Just a bird has illuminated, you can say, an unlimited happiness in this bleak, dark surrounding. Moving on to the fourth stanza. So little cause of carolings of such ecstatic sound was written on terrestrial things, afar or nigh around, that I could think there trembled through his happy good night air some blessed hope, whereof he knew, and I was unaware. The poet says that there is very little cause of carolings. Carolings, all of you know, that is a little cause of singing song and enjoying and expressing happiness. There is very little chance of that. Of such joy, such energy at the end of a time, of a century, was written on terrestrial thing. There is on this earth, terrestrial thing means on this earth there is nothing to be so happy and so expressive. No, afar or around, near or far away, there is little hope of happiness. And that I could think there tremble through his happy good night air. But there exists a communication between man and nature at this time also, at this moment also. The bird is trying to have a communication, trying to establish a link between nature and a living object. There is a sort of blessed hope. There is a sort of happiness. There is a sort of feeling that the bird is trying to justify in the melody with which it is singing. However, the heart of the bird is unknown to the speaker, it is unknown to the poet. He is not able to make out that what is the reason behind it or what is the expression being talked about. The speaker's acknowledgement is that he is not aware of the cause that has inspired the bird to sing so happily in such condition when it is frail, weak and dejected. The poem ends, there is something that is to be happy about. Happy good night air. There may be possibility of happiness. Some blessed hope, maybe the bird is talking about some blessings of hope, whereof he knew and I was unaware. And the bird knew about that happiness. And the feeling of that optimism in that bleak surrounding is expressed by the means of a thrush singing. Even in such circumstances, the anxiety, the happiness, and about which the poet is unaware. The bird's song acts as a soothing effect. It is a solace in such an atmosphere. It is just that the poet wonders that the bird is a messenger of good hope, though he is unaware of it. Its song gives and happiness over his existence of joy and hope in the world. It's possible that in the coming century things would be more exciting, thrilling, and people would enjoy the new century. But the poet over here does not know the reason, so Hardy ends the poem on an optimistic note. Although the poem was written on the century's end, but it is ending with a hope of optimism, hope of regeneration, coming of a new thing. In a form of a bird, the poet is trying to inspire the people to accept the change that is predominant. Change is a integral part of human existence. Nature changes, time changes, things change. I hope this poem would have also taught you a lesson to be accepting the change, although sometimes change is not acceptable, but still we need to accept it. So this poem, The Darkling Thrush, written by Hardy, is one of the most memorable poems. He has used many poetic devices to express his comparison, and he has also used all the techniques to make the reader interested in his poem. I hope my effort to make you understand this poem would be fruitful. If you at all like this poem, please like it so that I also get motivation to upload the other collections of poems in your textbook. I hope it will be interesting for you to watch it. Thank you.